Hi everyone, it's Alice here. I wanted to show you today one of my favorite art journal pages from Puss project, and you will see the results in this video, in this process. I wanted to make this page according to the moment in which the cat takes the gown, the boot and the bag and turns himself to our well-known Puss in Boots story. Well, this idea of creating the story Puss in Boots came from a Facebook group in which everyone has to take a fairy tale and along a year using some specific objects to recreate the story or to adapt the story or whatever they like to do with the story. If you want to see further ideas like that, I've got old journal pages from Alice in Wonderland, because last year I did it with Alice, but it wasn't the story itself, it was just little moments from the book and the Walt Disney film. And I invite you to see the video of Alice in Wonderland, all the pages. I don't have any video showing how I made them, but it's also very interesting to see the results. So with this one, with Puss in Boots, I decided to follow the story just as it is and not to create the pages in disorder. Just for fun, for making it more complicated, I have to adapt every object from each month to the story at that moment. So for this month, for February, we had to use brats. So you will see where I locate the brats. Meanwhile, I've been making the background using two different paper pieces which I cut out. I love to cut those pieces, just ripping them, and so that it's more interesting. And also I color some gesso. It's, well, you have to have in mind that if you color the gesso, the color will be much more lightly than the acrylic paint one. But if you have that in mind, it's very fun to use colored gesso in your projects. So I'm applying it to the background to make it more interesting and with more texture, and you will see how it gets at the end. As you can see, I'm using different kinds of acrylic paints just to mix them in the background and have a more colored background. It's very, if you color the background just one color, it gets very simple and you don't have any kind of texture on it. So you start coloring with a base color, and then you add some other colors to make it deeper. When I'm already happy with the background, I use some pouch to seal it, so it doesn't move when I apply other products on it. So, and while it's drying, I'm using some old earrings I had to, well, you will see. That is for the gown, some decorations for the gown. And also, since the background is quite incomplete for me, I decided to add some stamps using Station ink, that it goes permanent, and decorating it a little bit more before I add all the objects that are going to be on the page. One of the last pieces I'm going to use on this page is a handmade hanger for the gown I'm going to up. So I wanted to do it from a clip, and I saw some videos on the internet, and I found one I really loved. And leaving aside the book either to dry or either just because it was finished, I decided to take some pair of boots and some other aspects to draw and to glue after in the book. So I found ones in internet. They were pretty good for me. They were from the Musketeers. I always thought that my cat will have one from the Musketeers, and I used some inks to color it. I didn't want to color it with color pencils first, because I found inks quite faster than coloring with normal color pencils. But you will see that afterwards I add some pencils at the end. And since I wanted my boots to be quite shiny, I used some perfect pearls to let the boots shine. And as you see, I'm applying them with a little brush. That is not a normal brush for just for painting. That is one of the brushes you got when you've got your makeup. And since I'm not very into makeups, I use all of them for my craftings. And after the boots were finished, I started with a bag. And as you see, I'm going to use a ribbon to make one of the parts of my bag. And after that, you will see that one of the braids will be also on the bag. And what you can see on top that is not already colored, that is the up part of the gown the cat is going to use. So I'm mixing finally the bag, and after coloring the up part of the gown, you will see how I use the ribbons to make it a strap for the bag. So first I ink my, to be my desk, and I mix it with water, and then I color it with, you can see my dirty fingers, and I color it with this distress ink. And since it's colored the color I wanted, I try to dry it a little bit. And after finishing the bag, I'm ready for my focal point, that is going to be the gown. I first color it with color pencils, but I wasn't happy with the results, so I color it also with acrylic paint. That is in fact part of the skirt, an origami skirt that you can find anywhere on YouTube, of how to make skirts for girls and for fancy dresses. Well, it wasn't exactly a fancy dress here, it was a fancy gown. So I just made it, and then when I was happy with it, I cut it just on the half of the skirt, and then since I decided to make that part for the shoulders, I had to cut it a little bit, and behind that I added some sellotape so that it doesn't move, because if not it will be constantly moving, and that will be very, very hard to work with. And I'm applying some different kinds of colors so that it gives the gown some texture and some shadows. But you will see also at the end of the video how I used markers to give it in more shadows even. So that's the kind of process. You start giving shadows, and then you are not happy enough with how dark the shadows are, and finally you start doing it for your own. So here I noticed that I will see the background behind the gown, and I will see it brown. So I wasn't very happy with the idea of having just a gown on the forehead, and so I decided to add some paint. You will see. But first I started with the boots, because they were the only object I knew where it was going to be, since I need to leave some space for writing the story in Spanish, and also I wanted to know exactly where everything should go. So I started first joining everything and leaving them where they should be. And well, as you can see, you can see the background, the brown background, so it's going to be changed soon. And I was choosing the properly braids for the amazing gown, and you will see how nice it gets at the end. See, I'm just coloring the background to make sure that after the gown there is also the back part of the gown. So here's I'm applying some ink to make the stone darker, so that the gown fits in properly. And after that I will go with a cat, because we need the cat in here. We need our push in boots here also. So I wanted to go on with the cat. I cut out or a cat, or I think I had it before. It was some kind of present from someone. So I decided to make the cut the same, with the same technique I did it in the first one, just coloring with color pencils and giving him some details with markers and, well, nothing else, because my cat is going to be always color with color pencils and making it like a little tiger. And in this position the cat is looking at his future clothes, so he's quite happy about it. So as you can see, the cat is quite similar to the first one and quite similar to the second one, so it's my cat. And oh, the pages are quite rough this time, because since when I apply Podge, it always get this kind of thick. So I'm cutting just a little bit of the back to let the strap go and fly into. And well, since it's not going to be seen, I'm just putting some sellotape, and I'm not taking it any further. So I wanted it to be, because the back is going to be important in the next page. I wanted the back to be here also, so that it makes me it reminds me that I'm going to use it on the next page. You will see. So I'm now applying glue to stick all the gown and the boot. I know it's quite dirty, but since the glue is going to dry transparent, I do not mind having some extra glue there, because it's quite high to. It's quite difficult to glue something that pops up so much. So well, you'll see I'm having problems just putting everything in order. And as you can see, I love how the brads are there and how the brads joins to the gown. It's quite beautiful and quite significant for me. After gluing everything, I'm using Mod Podge, a lot of Podge to seal it everything. So because I'm going to use markers and to draw the shadows, and if everything is not correctly sealed, I will get problems, as I had in the windmill on the last page from the pushing boot. I didn't seal correctly the windmill, and then when I applied the marker, it blew up a spot in there that it is not very beautiful to have such spot there. But since it's quite little, people doesn't see it, and it reminds me that I have to be more careful in my projects. So because this kind of art journal is not exactly this art journal that shows your feelings or your emotions or a sentence that caught you, but it shows a story, and since it shows a story, I have to be more careful with everything I do. So anyway, you will see also some bloops in here in the gown, because well, there were some places in which the porch didn't work well. I don't know, maybe because it was too much, or anyway, and I left some little blobs in there. I use a permanent marker to color the things without making shadows, and then I use normal markers, as you can see there, to add some shadows over there and over here. And you will see it's quite complicated because all the well, the folds that I made with a gown glue together, so I cannot work on the folds quite good. But well, anyway, you will see that it creates a really good gown for our cat. And after working in those all details about some shadows and remarking the focal point, which is the gown, the boots, and the bag, I'm going to write the story of that page that you can perfectly see. That's the moment in which the cat receives its call out and starts to be our real pushing boat. So that is written in Spanish, but you can imagine perfectly what I write there, because you can already see the process in the And after writing the story, here it's finished, and I leave you with some closer photos about my work today. So I hope you loved it, and see you soon!